something beyond here is can be certainly very important to that. But certainly, I think the coach, he just arrives, so I'm just going to tag him in and bring him certainly to the show. So, Coach, how you doing, sir? Are you okay?
What's up, brother man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, man.
How are you doing, sir?
Oh shit! Like everything's sort of back to normal as of what Tuesday. Our neighborhood is new, so what they was doing last week, they were digging under the ground, bringing some fiber optic, the cables,
Oh,
and
okay.
they sort of hit ours and then knocked it. It disconnected it from, I guess, the outside little connect,
Mm,
and yeah, man, it was a mess because it's part of my wife's work, and she was having problems, and they had to come out the next day. But it took them a few days because
oh, wow.
I don't know, man. It was sick because I
Yeah.
saw them working on it. I was like, oh, they because you can tell when they doing the cables and they sort of running it underground and yeah, so they did something to ours. And I think my neighbor's house has some problems too, but we good now. We getting more competition. We ain't got to just stick with one Spectrum. We had Spectrum, so
Gotcha, gotcha.
they getting competition. So that was the problem. But they fixed it. It took them a few days to fix it, though. I was
Yeah. So,
surprised.
so did your wife? She had to go like into an office or something to do
Yeah, she
work, or
has
you
a
had
little
to?
hub. Yeah, she
Yeah,
has a little hub that she go to. So
I
she
got
was
you.
good. Me, it just gave me opportunity to sleep all day.
I heard that. I heard that. But yeah, just want to shout out to the chat tonight. So I got Anton has always been with us. Greetings and salutations to you. And yes, certainly for Coach Ferg and for me, Jersey Stand Up. Appreciate you certainly being a part in these spaces. So certainly looking forward to certainly your contributions to the chat, and your just a contribution to any platform that you're on. Looking forward. Look out for Anton. He's going to be launching a few. He's going to be starting a few channels of his own. Certainly a hockey channel. Certainly, there's very few African Americans that I know that are really into hockey, and so he's a big hockey fan. So he's going to be starting that up. And what we saw last Sunday, Coach, we got an idea that Anton and Mrs. Anton, his wife, they can get their own channel going because they are a debating couple. They kind of remind me of it was that guy Carvel and I forget his wife Madeline from CNN, and so they get into it some. So that would be a great show if they ever get that off the ground. So, but certainly he's got a lot of knowledge. And both of them very smart people. So anything that they do together, I'm sure would be great. But certainly just checking in with everybody. How are your pies? How are you doing physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually? So, Coach, just with everything going on, certainly with the internet being down and whatnot. But how are you doing in these times based on those pies that we talk about?
Man, physically, man, my life is changing. My body's changing. I've been dealing with. They said I had degenerative spine disease, so I've actually gotten shorter over the years, but it's starting to, I guess, develop arthritis. I had a MRI
Mhm.
and a electric, I don't know, EMG on the same day, and the results came back. Everything was severe, moderate, because I have
Oh wow.
several disc spacing. The nerves are starting to get compressed, and yeah, just dealing with that, man.
What are they recommending for it? Is to like exercise or?
Right now, physical therapy.
Mhm.
I've had everything the VA had to give me, man. I had acupuncture 5, 6 times along
Mhm.
the spine, physical therapy for 30 years. I've been hung upside down. I've been
Oh, the
stretched.
inversion harness there. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, my injury occurred in a training in the service. I fell and I ended up herniating a disc.
Mm.
So I spent my last 2 years in the service with a herniated disc. So
Oh wow.
yeah, I guess intellectually, just thinking a lot, getting like a lot of personal things, learning a lot about, this part of life, being not a senior, but a senior, category in a sense, and just
Hmm.
the different little understandings about just even more opportunities, financial opportunities. Just learning more about that. So me and my wife really don't have to worry about anything as she retired because she's looking to retire soon. So just focusing on that. Emotionally, they're all over. My emotions are all over.
Hmm.
We finally got our team pictures back. I sent that out. They look pretty good. Uh, like I said, with my health, man, I'm worried about that. But there are some other things financially that are looking great. I'm excited about that. And, spiritually, just trying to be, connected to the Most High a little bit more. With me and my wife definitely, seem to be locked in um, more and more each day.
Hmm.
We enjoy spending our time together. And, just praying for, everybody to be well, man. Just praying for anybody, man, who needs help, man. Go get it.
Hmm.
Just go get the help, man. So, yeah, with that, I'm in, man.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Yeah, I mean, things are, pretty good over here, physically, again, feeling pretty good, pretty strong. I'm just staying consistent with that. I'm probably one of the most boring and predictable individuals that you'll probably ever meet because my schedule is virtually identical week to week. I work out at the same time. I eat the same foods at the same times every day, pretty much. And I just like consistency in my life. I like predictability, certainly in my life. And so certainly, those things keep me grounded intellectually, going into, just career wise, going to a new phase, going to be getting a new database system coming up. So I'm really kind of, itching to get my hands into that. Also coming in February, March, I may be on the road again. I may be traveling back to Georgia to do a little more work in the warehouse. They're a little behind down there, so they may need us to kind of go and paratroop in and do some things down there and learn some processes, some warehousing end to end. And, so definitely looking forward to, some, upcoming work. Emotionally, always good. And I think the more I go on, I think the better I get emotionally. And again, I remember half a lifetime ago, I might not have been the most emotionally stable person. I was still dealing with a lot of things, certainly from my growing up and whatnot. And but I'm pretty secure emotionally these days, and you feel like you have to be because you have a lot of emotional energy in this house. So I have to be the voice of reason, and to bring the balance to every situation. So so I'm certainly good there, but all of that is informed by my faith. The more I study, or the more I apply my faith, the more spiritual I get, the less religious I get, but the more convicted of the faith that I have I get. So all those things are like, it's like the more I learn, the more I strip off. And so it's a good place to be in. Certainly when you're around people who can be very dogmatic about certain things. It's harder to have conversations with people, regarding certain things. And so, being around people who, again, have that same mindset of openness, certainly is very helpful, certainly in those situations. So overall, doing pretty good. But Anton, he had a question for you. So he's asking, you're officially a card carrying member of AARP. I'm not. I got my card. I don't carry it. I haven't owned it yet. Yes, I'm over 55, but I haven't embraced it yet. That card's probably sitting somewhere, but I just haven't pulled it out. So I'm just not there yet. Even though I know I'm in. I remember I think a few months ago, Coach, I said we went to a concert. We saw Force MDs and we saw the Whispers and whatnot.
Force MDs.
Yeah, man. So, but again, all these guys are like 60 something. And the crowd that was there, everybody's got canes and riders and I'm like, this is my wife and I are like, we're probably amongst the healthiest people here. We're the fittest couple here. You know what I mean? So, but that is my age bracket now. But I'm just not feeling it. I'm not accepting it. I still have a young mind, and so again, I'm not giving it. I'm sure I may need it sometime. I may wait till 70 before I use mine for the first time. But certainly, just trying to just keep again staying consistent until something changes. But I don't get off the grind even on vacation. I try to
Brother,
keep the same grind that I always use.
Brother Bennett, I haven't applied for mine. I don't necessarily think I would need it in a sense, because a lot of times nothing really trumps a veteran's benefit.
Hmm.
So it'll probably be the same, and they don't stack them like they used to before COVID. They would stack them. Now they don't.
Oh yeah.
I will say this in reference to just being able to get some benefits. I can now travel and get hotels at like half the price, three quarters less of the price, because hotels that would typically be over $100 and some, I can get a week stay for about $220,
Mm.
the tax and everything included.
Right.
So I'll take that.
Yeah.
But everywhere I go, I do ask for a veterans discount everywhere.
There you go. And I would not. I would use it too. I would definitely use it too, no doubt. I'm sure
comes
cell
in
phone and all those different services that you use on a monthly basis. I'm sure that all comes in handy. But I just want to give everybody just a refresher. So again, this is part 3 and the final part of our coaching series. So this started a couple weeks ago. Part 1, we dealt with the different aspects when it comes to coaching. So there's coaching, or there's coaches, there's trainers, there's mentors, and then there's like analysts, consultants. And each one, even though there's overlap between all 4 of them, there's some distinctions between the 2. And so, just understanding and recognizing those differences. I'm more in the training space. Coach is literally a coach. Like, he just got finished coaching 5th and 6th grade basketball just a couple months ago. And so, our approaches to what we do, our jobs, are in some ways very different. I can be very specific about, instruction and telling you like exactly what to do and how to execute. Whereas coaches, they may have more open-ended questions in order to help you come to the answers that you help you to think and help you to come to the answers that you want, not just telling you what to do. And so, those types of distinctions. Also, the audiences that you work with. Trainers tend to be more one-on-one, but certainly there's opportunities to train in groups. Same thing. Coaches obviously can coach one-on-one as well as in groups. Mentorship is usually one-to-one. So, so again, the audience that you use also has a different, application there. But it's all part, it's all kind of within the same family. At the end of the day, you're just trying to help people be better or to accomplish certainly common goals. And so that was certainly one of the things that we talked about, when it comes to coaching. In fact, we used just a definition, certainly of coaching, was this idea of, so again, before we get started, so again, don't forget our email link. So again, nextgentraining101@gmail.com. That's NXTGEN training101@gmail.com. If you have questions for us, you can certainly drop those questions there, and we can certainly raise them in the course of future shows, and we can build content certainly around the shows. And so, certainly you can go there, but we define coaching, again, one who inspires dreams and then motivates you to achieve them, a person who builds your character and potential through belief and encouragement, and someone who touches your life forever. Again, these are certainly fundamental aspects of coaching. Again, in certain applications, also involves winning. I mean, again, if you're on a sports team or whatnot, in the paid position, they pay you to win. They pay you, but certainly in the process of doing that, there's certain actions that you're going to take in order to ensure those outcomes. And if you can do that as well as achieve these goals here, then you're really doing something and you become memorable. And I guess I was saying last week, Coach, when you weren't here, you were sharing with me that a lot of those girls, as frustrating as it may have been for you, and the challenges of coaching these girls, a lot of those girls came and gave you a big hug at the end of the season. So you definitely made an impact on them. It may not feel like it all the time, but certainly what you've been able to impart in them, a lot of those girls won't forget that. And so, so those are things that you leave behind. Certainly when you've gotten the right sort of coaching and you're in an environment where people care about you, that's really where it all pays in. So we talked about, we expanded our conversation last week, and we dealt with, and Coach, you weren't here for it, unfortunately, because of the issues that you were having, but the thrust of the show dealt with this this player feedback loop that is part of coaching, and really it can be part of training as well. The idea of, now, regardless of where you start, you may start with an action decision. Coach watches and observes, gives you feedback. The player reflects on what they're doing. You make the adjustments, and then you go back in. And so there's this constant loop that you're involved in within coaching that helps you to improve not only yourself, but also the outcomes that you're looking for. And so, Coach, I wanted to give you an opportunity, since you weren't here last week, because you had sent me this here. Any thoughts that you have on any aspect, or just in general, this feedback loop that certainly me and Peter talked about last week? Any aspect that you want to touch on or cover? But I thought that was a very good discussion, and certainly all the points are certainly valid ones. And they can apply within a sports context or a business context. You can use these same principles. But, Coach, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this before we moved on to the block that we're talking about today. I just want to get your 2 cents on it before we move on.
Yeah, I'll just speak up real quick in reference to life coach. Of course, with sports, as I mentioned before, sometime initially starting the process, it's more so of getting the information to be taught, whatever plays, whatever formations to be, taught, and it builds it from there. Then as you start getting into the action of whatever it is you're running or particular sets, then you start getting the feedback. It's almost like you're going to make adjustments, get the feedback on both the initial action and then the adjustments, because that's basically going to be a fluid situation. But in life coaching, it's really interesting because, like you mentioned, depending on where you are in this, wheel per se, a lot of it's initially is observation.
Mm.
Especially you meet someone who may be in a particular space, you're going to, of course, have conversations and dialogue, but you're just doing a lot of observing, facial gestures, hand movements, postures, those nonverbal cues, you're sort of observing them. And then, of course, you're going to give the feedback. And some of the reflection is maybe being, what they experience based off the feedback. And then I always challenge people to make the adjustment. Try the adjustment out for a couple of days, couple of weeks, and then we can come back and provide more feedback on what they may have experienced and where they may have struggled, then give more suggestions on how they can, improve it or alleviate it if needed. Sometimes, you provide too much and then they really don't need it. So, yeah, it's just interesting, man. I always look at, like I say, sports to me is just life, but the life skills part is the most interesting part to me. That's why I sort of am always looking to try to see how can I improve myself and improve. That's why I do the pies, because it makes me reflect about things that I've just experienced and may not have thought about over the time it happened. But then, just checking in allows me to reflect on what's going on and what has happened in the past. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. It's coaching is, I don't know, man. In some ways, Brother Bennett, it puts you in a leadership role, teaching role, empathetic role, motivating role. So I love it all, man.
Gotcha. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, for me, I guess the biggest takeaway from this was the reflective piece, because I always thought that was the one piece that as a coach you really couldn't help them with. All these other things that the action decision, the observation, the feedback, that's where your coaching comes in. But if a player really wants to do better, it starts with their reflection. what the mindset is. What do they do with the feedback that you get them? And they always say, you can either get better or you can get bitter. Sometimes that feedback is going to be pretty direct and at what you need to correct. Are you going to take that and put it into your adjustment? So again, in your practice, again, a lot of times the practice that you do is not even on the field. As a lot of it's what you do when you go home, right? In martial arts, for example, it's not just, okay, you're at the dojo and then we'll see you tomorrow. A lot of that adjustment and whatnot comes what you do off the mat that really makes a difference. And what makes the difference between someone really achieving and not achieving is really, it starts here. What are you going to take with this? Are you going to process it? And then what are you going to put into your adjustments? How hard are you going to practice? How many shots? If you're missing shots, then again, are you going to take 20 shots, 200 shots, 2,000 shots before you get back in the game and then get back into the action decision? So this piece here, even the best coaches can't help you, I think, with the reflective piece. I think if that's lacking, then the best coach in the world can't really help you. But certainly, this is a piece that, I think as a player or a trainee, I think this is something that you have to own. And I think it starts with your why. Talks about, again, the reasons why you want to participate. So this is also one of the reasons I shared last week. This here in terms of, the reasons why you're playing or participating in it. And are any of these aspects, are these going to be the motivators that are going to, again, what you do, the character that you have when you leave the gym or leave the field? A lot of it's going to be based on here. You have to come into your mind, in order for me to get these things that I want, I'm going to have to do the things required in order to get better at what I'm doing. And so, so again, this is an internal job, but again, that's why I'm always asking why. And I think where me and Coach maybe differ a little bit, we talked about in show one, I can be pretty critical when it comes to, I can deal with lack of ability. Sometimes I can't deal with a bad attitude though. So if a kid comes and they don't want to be there, I don't want them there either. I would rather deal with the scrappers who at least want to learn. They're going to give me 100% in practice and then in the game, than someone who may be maybe a physically talented player, but is lacking in effort, won't take instruction, or pouts when they get instruction, and they just want to sort of take their ball and go home. Give me the grinder. I guess in part because I was a grinder myself. I wasn't the most blessed athlete. And so, for me, I was like, give me a bunch of grinders and I'll ride or die with them, versus a bunch of talented guys who won't, especially in crunch time, won't give me everything they got at the end of the game. So that's just me. I've always been one who, certainly appreciates, a self-motivated type of person who, regardless of the reason why they want to participate, motivation doesn't necessarily have to be something I have to focus so much on. I can focus on the X's and O's or the techniques of the training. But again, even when a client comes to me now, it's like, look, you in the car ride over, you better be ready to train as soon as you get here. And if you're not, then I'll stop the session, and I've stopped sessions so we can deal with whatever it is that we got to deal with to get this person back on track as far as what they need to do. And if it's not there, I'm not going to take them through a session. I'm going to give them a week, sometimes 2 weeks off, get some things together so that when you come in, you'll be a lot more focused when you come. But the ride over, I always emphasize, the ride over to my home, or if I'm coming to your house. So if I say I'll be in your house in 20 minutes, that's a mental reflective time. I want you to think about your last workout. I want you to think about what you did right, what you did wrong, what we talked about, what we're going to improve on. So there needs to be like a mental space you need to be in. So when I show up and when you come to me, it's like, we're going to get into this. I don't have to give you a 20-minute pep talk before we get into the session. But any thoughts on this, Coach? And then we can certainly go into part 3. I just want to kind of do a quick review and get your input on these before we move on to the last part of our session. But I just wanted to get your feedback on that because I missed you last week.
I mean, almost every little point, is relevant in, um, I guess, the coaching and the mentoring, and I guess that entire process, and even in life skills, because at some point during those sessions, almost every point is going to be tapped into, whether it's with you, the coach, the mentor, the trainer, the individual receiving the coaching, the training, the mentoring. At some point, it may come individually, or it may both. It may some of those points may come at the same time with both individuals, because it is a learning process throughout that entire time when you're engaging with someone,
Mm.
regardless of where they are. A beginner looking to work out, someone who's been working out, at an advanced level. It's all a learning process. You can always learn something new. And I always encourage people to just keep an open mind. Not everything is not going to be based off how you feel. Sometimes you got to work through the adversity of, pains you have. Life issues may arise, but sometimes you just have to be consistent and work through it.
Mm.
And I think that's where people get their biggest breakthrough, once they experience some adversity while in the process of trying to be better, and they work through it. Now they have that experience that they can always pull from and say, hey, I got through this. I know I can get through the next thing. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
everything's good with that.
Right. Right. Well, we're going to get into our last part of this tonight, and we may do other ones in the future, but again, we like to do sort of we have themes that we kind of work on, and then we kind of break them into chunks, sort of digestible chunks. So this last part of what we're going to be talking about in this section is this idea, and again, I got to thank Coach again for certainly providing the space for it. There's a champion minded approach to failure. That is a big one. I've seen it certainly in with coaches, with trainers, and whatnot. The fear of failure is oftentimes is a major roadblock to a person getting better, a team getting better, and and it's interesting because in my training itself, one of the goals in my workout is failure. You know what I mean? The idea is that when you're doing a set, you only do one set in my training method, but you do that one set to failure. Now that doesn't mean 100 reps. So we're probably going to do, say, upper body. We may do 5 to 8 reps for upper body, and then maybe 10 to 15 reps for lower body. But the idea is to hit that wall where you physically cannot do another rep. And if you do that, if you do it proper way, you don't need to do another set. But a lot of people run away from failure. And I'm always telling people to go towards failure when it comes, because a lot of times, a lot of that fear of failure that comes in, a lot of that stuff is sort of, it's imagined, it's not real. And a lot of times people are so afraid to fail. And but if they do go to failure, it's like, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But it certainly it doesn't, but it stops a lot of people from going all out or giving 100% to something or fully applying themselves to it. So we're going to go through this. So we're going to use failure as an acronym tonight in terms of how do you get through failure. But I want to talk just a little bit or get coaches' input on failure itself, talking about this idea. How do you get kids or certainly people, how do you get them to think about failure, what mindset that you put them in so that they can continue on to be better at what they're doing. So what are your views on failure as a general?
Just in general, man, I've always tried to explain that failure is a part of the success. Even geniuses have failed in the past, but that's just part of the journey of success. And a lot of people look for the large victory. I always try to explain, accept the small wins, accept those small victories, because they add up over time. And as your foundation builds on those small victories, then when you get to a space where you may fail at something for that time, it's not a crash out moment. You readjust. Like the last slide, you maybe ask for some feedback. Let other people eyes on it. Let other people listen to it. People that you trust, people that you believe will give you the honest feedback. But yeah, and just part of and people when I'm working with, I don't know, man. It's just something about that teenage mind. Sometimes a lot of them get into a space where they believe that their lives are failures because they don't have stuff, and I have to always try to let them know that where you are today is not part of your end story. It's just part of your story.
Mm.
And some things when you're young, it's a lot of things you really can't control, but certain things you can, and that's the part. Be the best at what you can control. And things you can't control, they will eventually fall off because it's out of your control. But as long as you can stay focused on things you can control, then it'll tilt the scale at some point. And it usually tilts the scale when you're ready for it mentally. If you're not ready for it mentally, you're going to keep on having these failures and keep on having these setbacks. But when you prepare yourself mentally through the failures, and then you can always be better. So yeah, I don't know, man. Brother Bennett, man, when I tell you I work with, give me a group of people that you believe have had that need some help. Just off the top of your head, what group of people? And I can tell you if I work with that group of people, because I don't work about every group.
A group that needs help. It could be any level, man. Older people our age.
Yes.
Because one thing I know that I noticed that certainly a difference between me and my 20s, for sure. I was a lot bolder. I think when you're in your 20s, you're much more willing to take risks. And just go out and do things for the heck of it. But I noticed that for a lot of guys, for Gen Xers in our age bracket, we're risk averse. And so for a lot of things, I mean, it's like, we talk about why people die or why people die early. I think a lot of times it's because there's nothing, they don't really have anything to kind of live for, or there's no challenge that's in their life that they want to embrace and run with the same youth and abandonment, and sometimes just the innocence or sometimes the ignorance. But sometimes with guys our age, it's almost like we know too much. And so we'll be the ones to say, oh, that'll never work because of X, Y, and Z. But we don't. But, what happened to that youthful enthusiasm that we would, pick up and do things. And I think for a lot of older people, I'm like, you're 50 years old, but your mindset is like an 80-year-old. 50 years old, you shouldn't necessarily be in a rocking chair. I mean, 50 years old, you still got, especially with health and technology and medicine the way it is now, you got another half. It's like the football game. It's like the second half. And you would think now that you got some wisdom and you got some experience and some knowledge that your second half should be better than your first half in a lot of ways. But, so again, I see a lot of, like I said, older guys, 50 plus, 55. I'm like, what are you doing with the rest of your life? I mean, it's good. Yeah, I get it. Your kids are grown. Yeah, you want to travel and yeah, you want to do certain things. I get that. I mean, certainly you work for it. You earned it, to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. But are you still productive? Are you looking forward to being productive? And guys, when you retire, it's like, that's it. But is it about retirement or is it about transitioning and doing something else? And sometimes what you might have did for a vacation, that still might not be your life's work. And so yeah, I mean, Anton's makes the comment, So being in your 20s, were your opportunities to have some young and dumb moments. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily call it, even now, I wouldn't call it necessarily young and dumb moments, especially in college. But I still think there are uh, opportunities that you can still take advantage of, or at least try. But I just say, like why not, like, for a 50 something year old, why not go back to college if there's something that you can learn and be good at what's, how many people our age think about, oh, I'm just going to go back to school and learn something, either out of because you want to learn it or you think it may help you in your career, what have you. But I'm too old to go to college. I'm too old to do this. I'm too old to do that. And so again, what's your thoughts on that, Coach? I think that, our age group is very peculiar in that. Now, again, I pray every day I never get to that mindset. But I see a lot of people who do. And like I said, when I went to the concert and saw those people in our age, they're in our age range. And I'm just wondering how much of that is based on, do you still have goals? Do you still have ambition? What's keeping you young? What's keeping you energized? Or are you just living off of the past and you just want to kind of go back there? But what are you doing now? I mean, your fitness and, are you staying, in good shape? So again, what are your thoughts on that?
Brother Bennett, that's why I go to the doctor because I don't never want to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my mind is. I tell my wife all the time, I don't want to know that I'm actually old.
Yeah.
I want to be able to move around and, there's sometimes it don't hit the same. Sometimes you wake up, I don't know what they call it, gout or something. I might get
Yeah.
something
And
like,
then and then it goes away a few hours later, and you don't know what happened to it.
Mine usually go away within a few minutes once
Mhm.
but I've always been in tune with my body. Now I would say I wouldn't say young moments. I would say had naive moments.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you're getting away from home, you haven't really experienced a lot of different cultures, different I guess activities that you wouldn't do around your house, and a lot of people get away and they bring that naiveness to real life
Mhm.
outside of family where they can be protected, and then they put themselves in compromising positions.
Mhm.
It happens a lot, and I'll say it happens more frequently now than it did 30 years ago. Because
Mhm.
my experience, a lot of us were sort of in tune with what was going on with real life. We focused on real life in a sense. We didn't have adults around us all day, saying, interfering with kid matters. We were all able to navigate being a kid, teenagers outside, you know, work. It was just a different type of unity
Mhm.
within the children, and so yeah, I mean, young 20, yeah, that's true. But again, like you said, some so I used to ask my friends, like, man, y'all ever thought about going to college? I mean, I'm too old to go to college. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You 30 years old. I ain't going back to school. Okay, cool. The best thing I ever did when I got out of the military, I knew I had to go back to, that's why I got out early. I could have stayed in. I said, no, I need to get a degree
Yeah.
because when I got into the military, I saw how it actually worked from the inside. Like, okay, America's gonna be the shits. I used to tell my friends, they ain't never believe me. I said, America, I didn't know it was gonna be sort of like this, but because once I went outside the country, I said, oh, okay, America's running a Ponzi scheme. So I just started to move different about my money. I started to move different about how I sort of engage with people. You know what I'm saying? And I've always been I done been in some of the worst neighborhoods in the country, and I've never had nobody bother me.
Mhm.
Nobody.
Mhm.
And just always staying focused like that has helped me navigate through a lot of stuff. And I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, in 2022, 2023, the government VA was offering opportunities for veterans to go to school on their dime and get paid for it, guess what Coach Verk did? I took my ass back to DeVry. I went to DeVry, and I got a web design certificate.
There you go.
You know, they paid for it, paid me. So, yeah, I'm always into that, man.
Absolutely.
I like a smart woman, too. I like an educated woman, too.
There you go. There you go. And it's interesting because we talk about this sometimes, too. We don't always take our own advices because we'll say to a young person, so again, my 20s is a combination of those naive moments between college and the Army, no doubt. But a lot of times we'll tell a young person, you know, who's going through something, oh, well, you need to be patient. You know, keep practicing, keep applying yourself or whatnot, and it'll come in time. The OGs will tell that to the young ones. But what I'm finding a lot of the OGs aren't very patient with themselves. The same principle that you would give to a young person about something taking time or what have you, a lot of guys in our age bracket will not even get off the couch, get out the lazy boy, and apply that same principle. Yeah, it may be a little tough, at least at first, getting back to school or learning something or whatever, and you may have to say, well, you know, I need to be patient about this. Yeah, I know it's a little uncomfortable at first, but I need to be patient. We don't tell ourselves that, but we be the first ones to tell a young person you need to be patient. They say patience is a virtue, but sometimes it's not always practiced by the OGs. So I'm always just sort of amused by how the older we get, sometimes we get so impatient, or like I said, we just don't want to try. I had a client one time. I put the weight on, and she was so intimidated by the weight. I said, first of all, look, I wouldn't put the weight on there if I didn't think you could do it for the certain amount of reps that we're going for. And I just said, just give me everything that you got. And when she was done, she surprised herself. She couldn't believe that she did that. But it was all charted. It was like, this is the number that we're going for. And I showed her progress chart of where we started and where she's going and where she ended up that day on. But like I said, the reticence, and this one might have been like 45, 50, you know, and that I've trained 70-year-olds and I've trained 12-year-olds. So again, some of the older ones, they're like, well, I don't know, that might be a little too much. So you have this fear of failure. And somebody explained to me years ago, it was like, failure is your friend if you do it in the right context. And you hear the stories about how many times did it take Thomas Edison before he perfected the light bulb, or how many shots that Michael Jordan missed or practiced before he made the big shot in the game. Everybody gets caught up in the game, but how many shots did he miss? People forget about those. And so many allegories and stories about again, don't be afraid of it. At worst, you'll learn something, and then you kind of get up and try again. And so really, failure shouldn't be something that you should be afraid of. It should be something you embrace. And again, with the acronym that we're using today, we're going to give you a positive approach, or in this case, a championship-minded approach to how to embrace failure. And again, we're going to use this acronym in terms of the things that you do in order to overcome failure. And Coach, certainly as we go through these, feel free to step in at any time. But the first one starts with the F, the failure. First, what went wrong? That analysis, okay? So you lost the game, or you lost the match, or something didn't go the way you wanted to. Again, that's self-reflection of and coming to terms with that. That's either going to come in the observation. So going back to the feedback loop that we talked about last week, the observation of the coach. He's going to play the film. He's going to or the video. I'm dating myself. Said film. I'm still sticking the reels from back in the 70s, but now everything's digital now. But certainly the identifying the problem points is very important if you're going to overcome, and again, and develop that championship mindset. And so the aftermath. Some guys are like, oh, don't focus on the negative, just focus on the positive. But now you got to patterns identify themselves, and you have to take the time to look at that. So, Coach, your thoughts on this F in the acronym of failure, identifying what went wrong.
Just relating it to this year, man. After every game, the next practice, I would gather them in the center of the court and ask each individual player what did they see that went wrong during the game, and everybody would give open feedback. You know, a lot of it, unfortunately, it was we didn't work together, we didn't hustle. You know, just those things that you can talk about and show, but it's hard to instill in them. You know, sometimes sports, you just got to have that I don't want to lose mentality. And I told them, I said, that's going to have to come from your parents. I said, your parents, they're going to have to teach you that. I say, I can tell you, but I'm not your parent, so you can choose to do it or not. So I say, some of y'all get it, some of y'all don't. But yeah, as a coach, I even used to always reflect on what could I have done better. And I used to ask the team. I've never been afraid of asking players, how can I improve? What can I do to make things better in practice or games? Especially when I was in the high schools, I've always been able to ask players. Sometime I would do it as a group, get the entire group input, and then certain players, I would, you pull to the side and talk to them in a sense, because I always wanted to make sure the team came before the individual. So I thought that was always a bit, something big for me to just always get the team's input. And a lot of times, they could recognize where improvements needed to be made. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just want to highlight, I know Anton, he made this point here that fear being the perfect motivator. I don't know. I'm on the fence on that because, as I was just saying, fear can also be the perfect demotivator. Like I said, fear oftentimes keeps people away from the game or out of the realm of the race, or to even get into the race at all. So again, it depends, I guess, on where that fear is being directed. But again, if it's in a negative sense, it'll stop you from even wanting to get into the race because you beat yourself before you got into it. So fear is also can go in the other direction as well. But certainly I certainly get the point when applied properly. And I remember that line from Dark Knight Rises. Where the guy was saying, how can you fight longer than possible or jump farther than possible without fear, make the ascent without the rope, and he was able to do that. So certainly I can understand that as well. But certainly for a lot of people, it just stops them from getting to where they need to go. So F1 again, identify what's wrong. Then we have the A. Now this is also important. Always focus on the facts. Now, see, what happens a lot of times, especially in failure, especially when you lose, sometimes you take on more of the problem than what it is. It could have been a schematic play. It could have been maybe you weren't in the right position or what have you, or technique or whatever. But then a lot of times you start to internalize a lot of self-talk that has nothing to do with the facts of what happened. And so as a coach, as we're going through, I want to focus on the real, not the imagined. Oh, I suck at this, or I'm not good. I'm not a good leader. I'm not this. I'm not that. All these other aspects that you start beating yourself up over. In the analysis, in the aftermath, as you're showing them the play and what went wrong or what have you, whatever went wrong should be correctable. And that is when you go into practice and all those things we're going to talk about a little bit later. But talk about that, Coach. How do you, if you had a bad game or a bad moment in a game, you might have had a great game. In fact, always happens. You've seen players, you score 50 points in a basketball game, but you missed the last shot. But you feel like you failed the team because you didn't have the shot. But if it wasn't for your 50 points, you guys wouldn't even be in the game. So again, sometimes in these moments of failure, when you lose, putting things in the right context matters. And I've seen a lot of players, again, maybe not the most strong-willed of players. Again, these are sometimes, again, the talented ones, where if they miss a shot at the end of the game or they miss a play or something like that, they go into this negative cycle, and it takes a lot to get them out of it. It's almost like you need a therapist to get the guy to hypnotize them and forget about what would happen. So your thoughts on this one? Always focus on the facts.
Yeah, that's 100%. You know, the players emotionally have evolved when it comes to the sports. They a little bit more emotionally, I guess. I, I can't come up with the right word, but it used to be a time where you you can make a mistake and just use the context. You can be playing it, just rolling along, throwing touchdowns, scoring points, knocking down 3 pointers. And when you get to that final shot to win the game, you may miss or throw the incomplete pass or not catch the pass or whatever. And it used to be a time where it would just, players understood that that's part of the process. Even when I talk to students about school and education, there's no guarantee you're going to pass every test. There's no guarantee. You're going to get an A, but you put in the work, and if you in tune with what you're doing, you can always, I would bet 95, 100% of the time, you could always identify where things went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to do a lot of life coaching, I always asked the individual, what point in your life did you say F it? What event was taking place? And it was usually something, typically losing a family member, mother, father situation, somebody, may have done something to them. That's when a lot of those things would shift. And I would always have to get them to understand that, yes, this happened. However, you're here, you survived it. Now, what is it that we need to go do to make it better? Certain things we may be able to do by trial and error, but parts of it you have to do strictly by the book.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deviate from what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how you feel in the moment, regardless of, if you're motivated to do it or not, sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And
I can just step forward here. That leads certainly to the next one. Again, improving it. But I really wanted to focus on that last one in terms of, again, the mindset.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, again, take on too much of the blame for the loss. And you especially see it in these playoff games, and, like there's 70, 80 plays in a football game, and one play, and the player is like, oh, this is my bad. I lost this game. And you gotta understand that there's plays to be made. Every play, a possession in the game, everybody can find fault there. And so again, having the right mindset when it comes to, again, like I said, focusing on the facts. Now, once you have those facts identified, you've gone through, you've done your analysis, your research and whatnot, you looked over the game film, the improvement part, as you're saying now, I think can really come into play here. And you, again, take the corrective measures by your coach, by your trainer, by, and the stuff that you're going to do on your own, and build from there. But I didn't want to cut you off, but you can continue. But I just wanted to separate between those two, the facts versus, now that you have the facts, now you can go and improve on that.
Yeah, but that's why I sort of like these concepts, because sometimes they just run congruent with each other. Sometimes they may dissect each other. It's just all part of that evolution of it. taking on those mindsets that yes, you were the reason. We saw it. We just saw it with the Buffalo Bills, right?
Yeah.
We saw it with Brandon Cooks, and we saw it with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Both believe that they cost the game, and that's why I said we've gotten to this place now where it's more of I don't necessarily call it taking ownership, but taking on too much
Yeah.
responsibility for something that really is meant to be decided that way. And sometimes you're on the positive end, sometimes you're on the negative end. And one thing, when I equate it to life, I used to have to talk people out of the mindset that you're not the reason why. You're only going to be the reason for what you do. Your results about you are going to come from what you do, but if it's outside of you, you can't own that. That's not you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just trying to get to that space is probably more challenging because when a lot of people get to a place of hurt, they have a mindset of distrust. And that's the relationship building was always key for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just talking them out of that, making them believe it. And once a lot of people, when they get out of that mindset, you see the results happening and they see it. And then they start owning it. And then they start believing that, yes, I am capable. I am able. I can do it. And from there, man, it's just like, they're on autopilot. Every accomplishment, they embracing it. If they fail in something, they would come back and be like, I'll be okay. I'll get it next time. So that's always, to me, was the most gratifying point, seeing that improvement over that time. So.
Absolutely. But having that proper mindset, again, that's what helps you to improve. Because, again, you can say, I blew it. Do you want to pick up the saxophone again? You know what I mean? Do you want to pick up the basketball again and see how we can go from there? So, again, the desire to improve from it, also to learn from it. Again, having the proper perspective, it was a play. It was a move. It was something that, again, we can go at this next time. All of those are going to be relevant, especially, following a loss. All those things are going to be important. So improving from it, learning from it, is certainly important. The next one is understanding it. So again, this is, when the light comes on and you realize, next time I'll be ready for it. Yeah, they beat me last time, but next time I'm going to be ready. I'm not going to let that happen again. And that's going to come up in your practice habits. That's going to come up in, again, this constant state of improvement. In the NFL, they call adjustments. What adjustments? You might be down 21-3 at halftime. What adjustments are you going to make in the second half? Because some of these things have to happen in real time. You may not have a couple weeks to kind of get, to understand all this stuff. But that's why they got those guys in the towers and they got the film, and now they feed it directly to the computer pads and whatnot, so you can see everything in real time. You throw an interception, you still thought you were reading something. They give you those views or whatever. You go on, quarterback goes and looks at that tablet, and you can say, okay, now I understand. I won't get beat with the same play. I may still get beat, but I won't get beat with that play. That I see the kind of defense that they were running, and I understand it, and now I know how to go and be ready for it next time. So again, learning from it, improving from it, understanding it. I mean, these three, you could always kind of put them together, but again, we're using the failure acronym in terms of how to define, to have the right mindset coming out of failure. But you can basically lump those three together. But any thoughts on those three? Improvement, learning, understanding it, Coach, before we go on to the next one.
Yeah, understanding it is probably the most difficult to me in life. Sports is a little different because you can actually sometime, I guess, you can always re-practice it. immediately. And during practice, you can always rewind it and practice again. In the game, you can learn from the mistakes, but sometimes in life, it's hard. Meeting people at their worst spot in life, it's hard to get them to understand the positive in that. That's the most difficult thing because a lot of them are like, I did everything I can do, da, 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 and I don't understand it. Okay, did you do? They don't equate it to the other two, and getting them to understand, going back to there's things that they can control or can't control. That's a challenge sometimes, because sometimes people don't see themselves as being wrong, even in arguments. I wasn't wrong. Yes, you were.
Yeah.
And getting them to see, okay, how that could have been offensive or, what I'm saying, unfriendly to somebody. That's always been a challenge to get someone, especially someone who's confident in themselves and what they're doing is right, or is what I'm saying. So it's just having those conversations, and a lot of times I love pulling out the dictionary. I love her. Let's read it. Let's everybody who wants to read and let them see it, hearing it out loud. Now we can have a conversation about it. Because now we know what the definition says. And I'll and I'll usually, those old Webster dictionaries.
Oh, yeah.
I love the big, thick dictionary.
Right.
Because it may have everything, it may have 10 lines for one word.
Yep.
And we read through it. So whenever you hear it, you understand the context of how the word may be switched around and used. So I used to love going to the dictionary.
Right.
So now you understand it. Not based on what Coach Ferguson feel, I believe and think. Not based on what you think. This is what it is. This is the reality of it.
Right.
So now you can understand it from there. Now we can start building the blocks to get to those better spaces. And whether it's in their mind, whether it's physically. So,
Yeah. And I chose, like usual, I'm putting these together. I like to select pictures that kind of highlight the point. So the smile on the guy's face is kind of like, now I get it.
Yeah.
It's like that. Because like you could be in this like, I don't get it. Now, and that smile, it's almost like a smile of relief when that light comes on and you get it. So when I was picking the points, the pictures to align with the comments, his and her smile, they're looking at the information was like, it's like, now I get it. So that's why I chose the picture. But we got a couple.
Real quick with this, just based off of this picture, right? A lot of people learn visually. If they see it, then they can typically grasp it.
Right.
See where they may have not connected the dot. So, and then you can see the confidence.
Yeah.
You don't typically see it if you're working beside somebody, but seeing this picture, now I'm going to be looking for the facial expression out of the corner of my eye. Like, how did they, you know what I'm saying? Just to see when that light bulb comes on. And then I'm going to challenge him from this point.
Yeah.
Got it, right? Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to revisit this in a week or so.
Right.
And we're going to remember this moment. So if you still continue to understand it, then you shouldn't have no problems going forward. So,
Gotcha. No doubt. Next one. We got a couple more here. Again, renew the attitude. So this is where, again, you got to have a short memory. Again, especially for a lot of people, I think, now, again, failure can be built up. It's almost like you have a pain tolerance for it. They say in football, you have a certain number of hits that you're willing to take. Or in boxing, you have a certain number of punches that you're willing to take. But after each one of those, you have to have a mindset to go out there again. And sometimes that can build up over time, and the person says, I can't take anymore. But for others, it's like they know that, again, they need to get back. If you failed, you get up and you try again. And so, again, renewing the attitude that next game will be better because we understand it, because we We looked at the facts of the situation because we learned from it, and because we improved. We put in better practice habits than we did last time. The next game you go into, you can't be thinking about the last game or the last failure that you had. You can't be thinking about the last failure. So again, a renewing of the attitude to say, let's flush it and go into the next game or the next encounter with another attitude, with a renewed attitude. It's so important. You got to have short memory with everything. If you're in sales, I used to do cold calls back in the day. You got to get over that. The guy might have cussed you out the last phone call. Or don't call me. What you call me for? Blah, 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 blah. You got to go and dial the next number. I mean, if you want to make it work. So again, your thoughts on this idea of renewing the attitude, how you have to have, flushing and just coming out like new game, new excitement. Yeah, get fired up and let's go. Your thoughts on this one?
Just even through sports, man, coaching, you definitely got to renew your attitude every day, every practice, out there, every game, win, loss, and try to, relay that to players. Sometimes it's a little difficult. The younger they are, the more difficult it is, because I had some of my girls crying when we won. Like, I didn't play well. We won the game. You did great. I didn't do so great. I didn't score, but you had 5 blocks and 12 rebounds and 2 steals. I mean,
yep.
So just trying to, get that mindset. Again, a lot of it just comes down to mindset. And then in a lot of my mentoring, that's the process that may take longer than any. Just renewing the attitude, renewing the mind. Like, you accomplished something today. You failed, yes, tomorrow. You may fail the next day and the next day.
Yeah.
Then you get in this rut. Now it's like, okay, how can we get you there and keep you there? That's the big thing. Once you get there, it's probably more difficult for people to stay there.
Yeah.
Because I guess, especially once they're outside your presence, I think they don't. I used to try to figure it out. Like, I guess they don't understand that life is still evolving each day. Each day you get older, you learn something that you didn't learn the day before. You may have another experience that you didn't experience before based off your age. So, but you still have to show up every day. You got to come back ready for the fight, ready for the battle every day. So just keeping them in that mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Absolutely. Which certainly gets to the last one here again. Enter a new mindset, ready to move on. You got to have that. So that scene, those guys running on the field, or when you lead them out the tunnel or out the locker room, y'all go into y'all, on the court and go into your drills or whatever, it's got to be the same mindset coming out. Different preparation from the week before. Make your improvements, make your adjustments from the week before. But you got to go out there with an attitude that is seeking victory, seeking to overcome and to be better than you were last time. But if a team came out sulking, like, hey, I don't even know why we're here, then, don't even get on the court. So again, that mindset that you want to, again, go on and try again. I mean, that's how you overcome. But you can use this acronym that we've shared tonight, on failure. That'll hopefully, kind of give you, something that you can, certainly easily remember. Okay, again, forgetting, what came before, acting on the facts of the information, improving, learning, understanding, renewing your mindset, and again, the E being, enter a new mind, a new chapter, a new season, one to be better than you were before. So Coach, certainly I don't want to belabor the show tonight, but certainly I'll give you you can take these last points on, or just your comments just on the topic overall. First of all, thank you for sharing it. because I basically I was able to spin this off of what you sent me earlier. So keep sending content over, and I'll certainly build content off of it. But so again, I want to thank you for sharing that, and your final thoughts on this approach using this acronym to how to overcome failure, and just any final thoughts you may have on failure in general.
I was on mute. I mean, listen, like I said, failure is a part of life. You don't have to embrace it though. It's use it as a building block, because life is forever evolving. The older you get, it's like when you're hearing stuff. When I used to hear stuff from my father, man, when I was a kid, I was like, man, he don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. How you go? No, Daddy, see, I'm not. And he used to be like, all right, you'll see. It's like as soon as I get outside, man, he told me it was going to happen. How he know? Then it got to a point where I didn't even question what he was saying. And and I asked him one day, I said, man, why you didn't? He said, because I already knew you had it. He said, I told you. He said, I did. I told you. That's how you know I was listening. He said, did you get in trouble outside? I'm like, no. He said, well, you was listening. Did you graduate on time? You was listening. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Again, I just tried to, I had a conversation. My son's birthday today, and he's working. He said he ain't going to be home for another 3 weeks. He's going to work 3 weeks straight, 3 or 4 weeks straight. And just hearing him say that, like, man, he's getting it. He's putting in his work right now so he can, you know what I'm saying? It's like he got years to go, but to see that he's like, I'm forging my own path, and he's in a mindset where he won't accept failing in life. I say again, that you'll see over time that if you stay consistent, then it all levels itself out at some point. And don't ever take on the mindset like you would never learn something, just like earlier today, like I'm too old. You're never too old to learn.
That's right.
Never. And again, I thought it was a great, acronym, failure. I would challenge anybody to take this take this acronym and add your own words to each letter and see what you come up with. Add your own word to each letter and see if it's any different from what we discussed today. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, again, great commentary, great show. Hopefully you guys in the chat, hope you guys appreciate it. And what we ask people to do is share this content. You may have some young people who might be looking for some wisdom. Certainly you can watch these and learn from yourself so you can pass it on. But, our intent is to build a catalog of shows, a playlist, if you will, that is shareable. In fact, I think there is a playlist already on the Sparty HQ website, I believe, for this already. If not, we'll make sure it's there, and we got to just make sure we add each show we add to it. But, we have a playlist of shows that cover a variety of topics that certainly apply to young people, but even older individuals who are looking to make a change from where they are. And so, Coach and I, we do this because I think there's still something in us that still wants to share with people and to make people better. And again, we're just two bald opinions. We have a supermarket approach to everything. If whatever we say you can use, then apply it, and you can just discard everything else. But we hope that, again, what we're sharing in these spaces is of benefit and can be, again, a benefit to your life. So, again, we're going to certainly wind the show down. As we said earlier, certainly the email address, NXTGEN Training 101, NextGen Training 101@gmail.com is where you can certainly send any correspondence that you want to have, any show topics that you guys think that you need us to cover. Send those also, as well as your questions. And again, we can certainly build content around the questions that you ask. And, so certainly we appreciate any, any feedback you have from us, drop it in the chat too. How can the show be better? What things that you want us to talk about? Share all that certainly within the email, and we certainly we'll be sure to get back to you. So, but Coach, I want to certainly appreciate you as always for being on. Glad your internet problems got solved, and maybe even find a better and faster one the next time. But but it's always good to have you back, and just keep keep taking care of your health. I still say put a little weight training in if you can. Get a couple dumbbells or whatever, do some curls, something if you can. But
yeah, I'll try. But I didn't even mention this. I don't know why. They say I have carpal tunnel. So
we got ways around it. There's ways around it. I've trained people with the hand injuries. So again, there's cable straps that you can get on and attach the weight to it, or a cable if you have like a pulley system. Mm-hmm. There's these wrist straps that you connect, and so you can do your bicep curl without grabbing.
Okay, yeah.
But you do it here, and a lot of times it's even better because when I'm not grabbing, I'm not using this in the curling action. I got to keep this straight, and so I have to really flex the bicep.
Yeah,
like really focus on the bicep, but I took my hand out of the movement. So again, I got several types of gripless attachments, wrist straps that you put on. You put weights on them, or you can wrap it around a dumbbell, and again, you can just have it where it's the wrist is supporting it, but not your hand grip. So there's all kinds of things you can do with that. But you can certainly reach out to me. I can show you some of that stuff, and see if you can employ it if your hands are going to be a problem. But I've worked with that. I've had hand issues in the past sometimes, and I've had to go to some of those, and they can be very effective. Especially when you have certain injuries or ailments.
Yeah, I'll check it out when I go to. I got a physical therapy appointment a couple weeks, early February, and I'm gonna ask them if I can do it because I can't really do nothing without asking my doctor first.
Yeah.
So I'll get that advice from them as they say. I'll definitely try any technique that at least allow me to gain my strength.
Absolutely, and like I said, these days that's the main thing I'm concerned about. Is I want to be as strong as I can for as long as I can. I have no interest in doing a 5K. Although I walked 6 miles last Saturday morning. Me and some friends were out there in 32-degree weather, so we did a 6-mile walk, and that was interesting. We had fun doing it, but I don't know if I do that on a regular basis. But I have no interest in any kind of endurance stuff. But strength, that just helps me every day. I mean, you'd be surprised how getting up, sitting down, picking up, putting down, just those things on a daily basis that you can take for granted if you don't keep those things strong. So that's where I kind of put a lot of my focus on. But yeah, we're gonna land this plane. We want to certainly thank you guys. Thank Anton. Craig from UK was in the chat tonight. R. Payne even came through tonight. Appreciate you being here. My man Eric was certainly in the building tonight. Really appreciate you guys and the support that you give us on the channel. Again, make sure you hit the like button certainly as you leave the show tonight. And again, consider becoming a subscriber to the Sparta HQ Network and continue to follow content on the Sparta HQ Network throughout the week. I know there's a new show that's coming out on Friday. I think there's a wrestling show. So if you're into wrestling, old school and new school pro wrestling, that show's coming out. You got the Saturday Hangout show. Sunday night is the Gray Area show. And you have the Spartan Arena on Tuesday, and you have Straight Talk, Straight Understanding on Wednesday. So again, Sparta HQ Network trying to give you content on a daily basis, and so we're definitely looking to just build as much content as we can in this space. So again, support the channel, and certainly it is our pleasure to give a bit of us to you, and hopefully you can improve. You want to flex those biceps every time you get a fit. Look at him. He just can't. He can't help himself. He can't help himself. You're looking good though. 57. I'm 1 year behind you, but you're looking good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us tonight. And so for myself, Mr. Bennett, and for the coach, And thank you, Sparta HQ, for all you do, certainly for us here. This is Next Gen Training here on the Sparta HQ network. For all of us, take care. God bless, and we will see you next week. Good night.